So what are ethics? Ethics is a broad term for several acts and omissions that govern interconnectedness within society. As a collective, our success is predicated on cooperation. It is about what we ought to do and what is the right thing to do, the good, the bad, the evil, the unjust, and so on. Ethical principles, policies, and practices, for example, valued by a particular customary group, dominate. The values and morals of the group are ethically justified as they form an inalienable aspect of that group's identity. Ethics, despite not being enforceable, are nonetheless a powerful societal tool. Think of original sin and the origin of shame stemming from disobedience. As a society, we are more tolerant of sin, or perhaps more accurately, not everything that was once a sin is now a sin. Think cohabiting. This is no longer referred to as living in sin. However, our threshold to shame others is alarmingly quick to be breached. Think Twitter pile-ins. Step in Aristotle, whose IP is virtue. Being virtuous describes a way of being to inform ethical conduct. Deontology, espoused by Immanuel Kant, states that morality exists where the actor's duty to do or not do something. Moral duty is ethical. The categorical imperative describes universal acceptance of what actions and omissions are considered ethical, whereas utilitarianism posits that the morality of conduct is adjudicated by the quantifiable happiness it creates as applied to the maximum number of people it applies. Overall, who gets to decide? Sure, religion plays a part too, but morality is not just monopolized by organizations and organized faith. Morality, although at times nebulous and hard to pin down, is democratic and is not exclusive to one group. The philosophical and theoretical basis of ethics distinguish ethics from law. Before we look at law, it is worth visiting a universal concept generally shared by all peoples, the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule, revised and re-revised since time immemorial, tells us to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. This sounds fair enough. So why do bad things happen, and how can we stop them from happening? And this is something we will consider throughout this unit. But before I go, I would like to make mention to cancel culture. Already in this press book, I have made mention to people who, despite being heralded historically, their conduct, their behaviour and beliefs are ripe for reappraisal and vilification. I'd like to offer a word on problematic figures. Time does not diminish their acts or beliefs. However, I worry by allowing a culture to flourish that obliterates, we risk losing more than we have to gain. Keep all historical figures in history, no matter how despotic and reprehensible, but make way for alternative histories to flourish and thrive, and their history to dominate. It is impossible to eradicate the founders of many of the topics discussed in this unit based on reprehensible views. Otherwise, I would be left only with the work of a handful of historical figures to discuss. The past's job should be to inform the future and make sure wrongs are not repeated for subsequent generations. It is time to make space for additional histories and to make sure the scholarly process of accumulating knowledge includes all voices in the pursuit of knowledge and truth.